a young driving enthusiast, you want to go fast, but you need a car that you can get insured on. So these are 10 hatchbacks that have a 0 to 60 time of less than 10 seconds and a low insurance group. Citroen is not a brand you probably expected to see on the list, but this VTS is absolutely brilliant. This thing was basically built for young drivers. It came with free insurance when new, and that was a massive bonus, and that means insurance is very cheap today, Group 15. In fact, this thing came with 120 horsepower, and it came with a pretty decent aftermarket, and it's a pretty fun car in itself. The Twingo 133 was the sporty version of the second generation Renault Twingo. This car came with a 1.6 litre engine with variable valve timing and had 133 brake horsepower. This thing is in Insurance Group 19, which is lower than the Fiat Salvath, which is the car it was designed to compete with, which is Insurance Group 26. So this is a much more affordable option. I mean, sure, Insurance Group 19 isn't especially cheap, insurance is a bit hit and miss, but if you can get insurance, this is a great first car to get. If you want something cheaper, then you can always go for a Renault Megane. These are a much cheaper alternative to a Volkswagen Scirocco. In fact, these have a coupe body. In fact, this one is the Monaco GP edition, a very limited edition of the car. It comes with a 1.4 litre turbocharged engine, produces 130 horsepower, so a bit less than the Twingo, but that doesn't matter. You get way more space, and it's way more practical, and it's slightly cheaper to insure. The Czech Republic, we find ourselves with the Skoda Fabia VRS. The VRS is a diesel hot hatch, which is quite an unusual thing and a new thing that Skoda was trying. In fact, this thing was designed to go up against the Mini, and honestly, it was a pretty decent effort. This thing is actually very reliable. It's got the PD130 engine, which is incredibly reliable, and, well, once you're a bit older and you can handle the insurance, it can handle loads more power. Anyway, this thing will last for ages. In fact, you can probably pass it on to your younger sibling when you're done with it. The Alfa Romeo Giulia is a much more interesting alternative to German cars like the Volkswagen Golf. But that doesn't matter. This thing is Italian, which probably would worry some people, but don't worry. This thing is actually surprisingly reliable, and despite being the base model, it's surprisingly nippy. 122 horsepower will get you to 60 in under 10 seconds, which should be pretty nice. You also get some pretty nice modern features, especially in newer models. The Panda 100 HP is the one and only sporty version of the Fiat Panda. In fact, this car is easily distinguishable by its mild aero touches, its fog lights, and its bigger alloy wheels. This thing has 100 horsepower, which I admit isn't a lot, but this thing is tiny. It's a little city car, so it's going to be extremely nippy, and it's also one of the cheapest cars to insure on the list. This is probably the least favourite choice on the list. This version of the Ford Fiesta wasn't the best. 99 horsepower, so it's not very powerful. Amazingly, it does get 60 in just under 10 seconds with a tailwind, but this thing's kind of cool, it's very chuckable, and best of all, you get loads and loads of aftermarket parts, so you can customise it however you want. The Toyota Yaris SR is kind of an underrated choice. Not many people know about this one. This car is available with a 130 horsepower engine, which does give it a pretty sprightly 0 to 60 time. And yet, you still get a car which is Group 13, one of the lowest on the list. So this thing is definitely a competitor to the Renault Sport 133. So, would you take this or the Renault? Your choice. The Swift Sport was designed to compete directly with the Mini Cooper, and it even kind of looks like a Mini Cooper as well. Anyway, this thing is incredibly cheap. It's got loads of aftermarket mods, and if you're a fan of the Gran Turismo franchise, I think you'll certainly love a Suzuki Swift Sport. Basically, this thing is a bit like a Honda Civic in a way. It's still very fun, it's got variable valve timing, and it's a great car on track. The CRZ is something very unusual. It's a manual hybrid. It gets 60 miles to the gallon, but you still get a 6-speed manual transmission and a 0-60 time of less than 9 seconds, which makes this thing pretty fast. You also get 2 usable seats and 2 unusable seats, which reduces practicality, but still, you get a very cool car to have for your first car. And it's Group 15. So that's all for today, that's my list. What are you picking out of this list? Please let me know below. Please let me know any other cars that you would recommend. And if you like this video, please subscribe for more in the future. And until next time, goodbye.